Hello, everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly episode. It is episode number 271, and it's July the 30th, 2024. Hope you had a good week. Hope you're looking forward to this week. This week's going to be busy for me as I try to get myself back on track after going down to Berlin, Ohio, and spending lots and lots of money on fabric. And if you saw Stephen and Walter Live or my vlog, you know how much I spent on fabric, and I don't resent one cent. I don't regret 1 cent that I spent. No, not at all. I love buying fabric. I'm a fabric slut. What can I say? I just had to find a place to put it, and I did. So where there's a will, there's a way. But speaking of where there's a will, there's a way. I'm a little bit overwhelmed right now with all the projects I want to do. And I know I am not unique in that regards. I'm sure there are tons and tons of projects that you have on your list of things to do that you want to get to. And it just seems like just as you get yourself on track, there's a new project comes up that's a must-have, I must do. Squirrel. So that's me. So what do I do to keep myself from feeling overwhelmed, to keep myself organized? I make lists. Now, I'll show you what I mean by what my lists look like. I have a program on my Mac computer, which is actually a Windows product. I think it comes with Word, the project, the word processor Word. And I do believe it works on either a Mac or it will also work on a Windows computer as well. And this is a neat little program if you've never used it. It's free, and it's called OneNote. And I use this a lot for a couple of reasons. One, it lets me keep track of what I'm working on, what I want to do, things like that. And the beauty of it on a Mac, anyways, I don't know how it works on a Windows computer, but on a Mac, if you have other Apple devices like an iPhone or an iPad, it transfers whatever you put into one of those devices through this program to the other devices as well. It updates them, which is really nice because when we're on the road, as we were in Berlin, I'm constantly making notes for projects coming up when I get home and things like that. My brain is always going about this kind of stuff. And the problem is I'm old, and an old brain doesn't retain information for that long, I find. So this is an extension of my brain. As soon as I get an idea, I whip out my cell phone or my iPad, whatever is closest to me at the time, and I write it down in OneNote. And when I get back from my trip or wherever I am, even if it means I'm at the grocery store, for example, I come home, it's on my Mac computer as well. It's all there, up to date. So I'm taking advantage of the properties of this little program, which is very easy to use, by the way, and I make my lists. I'm a list maker. I have lists about lists. And if you look down here on the left column, you can see all my different lists for things. And right now I'm in one called Quilting Projects. And since I bought a lot of kits and other things and some patterns when I was in Berlin, I needed to organize that stuff. And I call this a priority projects list, meaning what do I most want to get done the soonest? Well, this list is very fluid because, as I said earlier, there's always something new that attracts your attention and you want to work on that, and that becomes a priority. So before I get buried under a pile of projects, I put them in this list and try to do some kind of prioritization. Now you can see here I've got these ones right now under 3 categories: embroidery, Christmas, and other. Under embroidery projects, these are things that I have bought when they went on sale on some of the embroidery sites that I go to on a regular basis. And these I've printed out the instructions for them. I have them in a folder, and I want to work on all of these at some point in time. That list will probably grow because I love machine embroidery, as you well know. Christmas is around the corner. Yes, I'm sorry to use the C word, but it is. And it creeps on us very fast, and you probably want to make things for Christmas, for home decor, for gifts, all that good stuff. Well, here's my list. And Whether I will get to all of these or not, I don't know. Now, what I haven't done yet is gone into these lists that you see here and actually prioritize them. The numbers are just placeholders at the moment, but I could, number one will be the first one I want to get working on. Number two will be the second. I haven't figured that out yet. And so this is where I keep track of this kind of stuff. But as I said, this is an ever-changing, it's a fluid list. It's a living list, meaning I can come back in and alter it, add to it, delete from it, whatever I want. And that is something, too, that people who try to make lists and they don't stick to them is because no list is written in stone. At least that's my opinion. It's there to help you organize your brain. But you are free to alter those lists, those notes, as you see fit at whatever given time you think that. So it keeps things moving. Now, the other thing that's holding me back right now, and this is something I am really trying to stick to, I have set a limit on myself. I have about 7 quilt tops that need to be quilted. I want to get them done because I know I'm going to be adding more to that pot. And it's just going to get to the point where I'm going to have all these UFOs and they're never going to get done. And I don't want that. Now, I do like piecing. That's my favorite process of quilting. I'm not as much of a fan of doing the quilting, but I have a long arm. And one of the reasons why I bought the computerized system for the long arm is because I knew that I would never ever master free motion quilting on the long arm because I wouldn't spend the time. And, that takes practice and dedication. So, and I wanted to get my quilts done, and I don't want to do them by check because that gets pricey. And you're going to say, yes, a long arm is pricey too. Yes, it is. But nevertheless, I can do it. I can get these things quilted on my schedule, not on somebody else's schedule, and I'm not dropping $300 or whatever it costs these days to have somebody quilt my quilt and wait months and months and months to get it. So my goal right now is I am not going to do any piecing until I have all of these quilts that are backed up on Lucy quilted. I've got a good start. Sunday I quilted one of my quilts. Yesterday I did another one. You basically can only do one quilt a day. At least I can. I can only do one quilt a day. Today, after I'm done this and some other things, I'm going to get back onto Lucy. I'm going to get a third quilt up there. And when they're quilted and I take them off the machine, I immediately trim them up and I make my binding for them. I fold up the quilt top, the quilted quilt top, and I roll up my binding and I put them all together and I have a new pile. And so tomorrow on the sew day with Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen, that's my plan. Is I won't be able to do anything on Lucy tomorrow because Lucy's in a different room and she needs my constant watchful eye or she likes to misbehave when I turn my back. And she gets lonely. So I won't be quilting anything tomorrow, but I'll probably be binding tomorrow during the sew day as well. So my goal is before, it used to be before this month is done, but guess what? Tomorrow's the last day of the month, so that's not going to happen. But in another week, hopefully, I will have all those quilt tops quilted. And then once they're bound and they're out of my hair, I can put my attention back on my list and get going with that. And this is going to be very hard for me to do because, as I said, I love piecing and I'd rather be doing that than what I've said before, but it has to be done. Discipline. So yeah, so you're not going to see any projects today, but next week, I hope you'll see a couple. Anyways, okay, so that's what I am up to right now. So let's go to what's been happening, what's next. Well, we're back on schedule with Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen. We took 1 week off because that's when I was in Ohio visiting Stephanie as well. So we had a really good time. And if you haven't heard about that, then check out Stephen and Walter Live from this past week. There'll be a link for it in the show notes below. And you can hear about our adventure in Ohio, in Amish country, and our visit with Stephanie. Pop-up sew day this Saturday. Oh, before I get into that, just as a reminder, Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen is Wednesday, tomorrow. It's always on Wednesdays, and it starts at 9 a.m. Eastern Time and runs until about 4 p.m. All are welcome. Come and go as you please. It is a Zoom, so the link's in the show notes for it. Yeah, it's not a YouTube live. We don't do any recording. We're just a great group of people. We welcome new people all the time. Love to have you here, and you'll find everybody friendly and supportive and welcoming. Okay, pop-up sew day. Yes, I'm having one this coming Saturday, August the 3rd. That one, I open up the gates to the Zoom portal at 8 a.m. In the morning Eastern Time. A.m. means morning. Why would I say in the morning? Yeah, same diffs. 8 a.m. Eastern Time. And we're running until about 4:30 p.m. Now, usually, those of you that are regulars on pop-up sew days know that I usually go until 5. But because it's on a Saturday, and I always have my pop-up sew days on a Saturday, I'm only going to run to 4:30 because Stephanie of Stephanie Stitches comes on at 5, and I don't want to miss her show. And I don't want to hold back anybody else who might be a regular of Stephanie's, one of her subscribers as well. So I don't want to conflict. So we will end at 4:30, and Stephanie comes on at 5. Okay. Now, the link for the pop-up sew day is in the show notes again, but those of you on my mailing list, you got yesterday an email with the link in it as well. Hope to see many of you there. Here in Canada, well, at least in Ontario, but I think in a lot of provinces too, it's a long weekend coming up. We call it the Civic Holiday Weekend. I think it's got different names. In fact, I think the name that we have for it, Civic Holiday, is an old name. I think we call it Lord Simcoe Day now, for whatever reason. And so people might be going away if you're Canadian or whatever, and that's fine. But if you're not, and you're bored, and you want to have some fun, and you want to catch up on some projects, then please join us on the Pop-Up Sew Day. It's always fun. Okay, so that's what's coming up. I do have something to show you. I picked it up when I was in Berlin at one of the quilt stores. These are things that I've heard about before. They have good reviews on them, and they're meant for cleaning your sewing machine. And so, well, I'll show you what I mean. While I was in Berlin, Ohio, I went into a little quilt store that I didn't buy any fabric there, but I bought these Nook and Cranny cleaning tools by the Gypsy Quilter, and they are reusable silicone brushes. And I have heard of these before, but to get them anywhere in Canada, I had to pay quite a bit of money for them just in terms of shipping. So I never bought any, but I saw them there in this store and they were $4.99. I think $4.99 American. So they worked out to about $5 and something Canadian, which is less than what this particular Canadian shop is selling them for. Plus I didn't have to pay shipping. So I picked them up. I haven't used them yet, but they are silicone brushes and they're meant for cleaning out your sewing machine. And they come in different, as you can see, different tip sizes. So to get into all the different places, kind of look like insects on a stick, but they are washable and reusable, which is kind of nice. So next time I'm cleaning out my sewing machine, I will definitely try these and see how they work, but I hear good things about them. So yeah, and on the back it says, get into every nook and cranny of your sewing machine with these handy reusable cleaning tools from the Gypsy Quilter. Silicone bristles are soft yet effective in cleaning your sewing machine as well as your home appliances and electronics. The variety of tips in the package give you several options for reaching all those tiny, hard-to-reach areas. To clean the brushes, simply wash in mild, soapy water and air dry to remove the dust and lint from your cleaning tool. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to giving these a try. Okay, so let's talk about kits, shall we? When I got home, actually one of the things I said to myself when I was in Berlin is, I am not buying any kits because I have a pile of kits here that I've had for, in some cases, several years, sitting in a corner, waiting to be done, and I haven't gotten to them yet. It's part of my priority list kind of a thing. I don't know if I'll ever get them all done. I may have to have a kit sale. But while I was in Berlin, of course, I saw some really cute kits. And you know, these quilt stores are clever because they create a display from their kits. There's the pattern, and right next to the pattern is a bundle of fabric uh, for the for the pattern. So it's a kit. Yeah. Um, there's pros and cons to kits. You know, basically sometimes kits are, you know, what do I want to say? Well, they pile up for one thing. Second of all, that's a con. Sometimes you don't get the right amount of fabric. I've had that happen, so that's always a risk. But also, they are a way of not having to worry about what fabrics you're going to use for a pattern because they're all laid out for you. So there's advantages to this. Anyways, I picked up some kits I really like, 3, and I'm going to show those to you right now and talk a little bit about them. While I was in Berlin, Ohio, and visiting several different quilt shops, I made a promise to myself, which I broke. And the promise was this: don't buy kits. I have got so many kits already that I've had for literally for several years that I have not gotten to yet. But I am sucker for a bundle of fabric with a nice pattern. I mean, okay, one of the pros of buying kits is you don't have to worry about finding the right fabrics. They're all coordinated, they're all together in one bundle. But one of the disadvantages is if the kit is already pre-cut, you might run into a problem where you don't have enough fabric. And that has happened to me before. I have been burned on some kits. But I broke all my rules when I saw these next 3 kits I'm going to show you. When am I going to get them done? I have no idea. Now, this one is a very involved pattern, and I'm calling this a kit because they had a special ruler that you need to make this quilt. It's called the Alaska. I'm sure you're familiar with it. A few years ago, it was extremely popular, and it still is. And a few years ago, I could have taken a class to do this, and I didn't, and I kind of wish I had. But anyways, they had the quilt done and on display. I really like the colors that are in it. These are a little bit more of the vintage style, 1930-ish like fabrics, which I am sort of attracted to and sort of not attracted to. But in this case of this quilt, I think they're perfect. Of course, though, I bought the bundle of fabric, which was, I don't know, close to 100, maybe slightly over $100 for the fabric you see here. I had to buy the book. It wasn't a single pattern. It is a book of patterns, and there are actually other patterns in the book that are quite interesting as well. So maybe down the road, if I ever get this one done, I might do some of the other patterns in this book. Might. We'll see. And I had to buy a special ruler as well. So this was kind of pricey, but I have thought about doing this quilt for quite a while, and so I made the plunge and I bought the kit. And I think I got this from Lone Star Quilt Shop. Yes, actually, it says that on their ribbon. That was the first quilt shop I went to when we were in Berlin, Ohio, and it is absolutely a wonderful quilt store. So that's one kit I bought, but there's more. I saw this as well. Now, this one I saw in the Plaid Sheep Company quilt store in Berlin, and I didn't even, I would have missed this if it hadn't been for one of the salespeople there said, "Oh, have you gone in and seen our Christmas display?" And I said, "No, I had not." That was danger. In I walked, and they had this quilt done with the sheep on it, and I thought it was very unusual. Hadn't seen anything quite like that. And of course, they had a kit of fabrics for making it. Again, I had to buy the little book. It is a book, an Annie's pattern book. And so, you know, between the kit and the book, it was a little bit more pricey. It was about, well, you're talking about $100 in total for everything you see here. Now, these ones, the fabrics are cut for this. I don't think it comes with binding and backing, and oftentimes kits don't come with that as well. That doesn't bother me. I guess it keeps the price a little bit more reasonable when you first look at it, but also gives you the opportunity to use, backing from your stash and binding as well. So I have this. Now, it would be great if I could get this done for Christmas this year. I don't know if I will. We'll see. The book had some other interesting patterns as well. So again, for $10, I got a book that has the potential to have several different quilts that I could make out of it. And then I saw this. This is back at Lone Star Quilt Shop as well. Very clever sales method that this shop has. They put together bundles of fabric right next to these patterns. So that, you could just buy the pattern, or you could buy the pattern and you could buy the bundle of fabric, or you could just buy the bundle of fabric. But when you see them matched up like that, oh, I have to have it. And just recently I did a table runner with cardinals on it. So I'm in sort of a cardinal move. And this is a small, well, it's not that small. It's 54 by 54 quilt. It's square. And there's the fabrics again. And as I said, everything I need is all together. I don't have to go searching for the right coordinating colors. And this one looks like it might be fun to do with the cardinal blocks. And I just noticed something. I'll betcha there's applique involved. Oh, didn't think of that when I looked at it, unless those are printed. Unless this is no, it's not a panel. There's too much fabric with it. Yeah, okay. We'll have to look at that closer. Well, I'm not afraid of applique. I just, I can see here there's like this little, I think there's some stitching lines I have to do as well. Okay, this might be a bit of a challenge. That when I bought it, it was an impulse buy, but then what things are not. I will attempt this. Let's get out of our comfort zone here and do something different. It is a beautiful looking quilt though. So yeah, I have these 3 kits. When will they be finished? Who knows? But I have them. Of course, I suppose down the road I could always have a little kit sale. Oh well, that is life. So I have my work cut out for me. And considering that 2 out of 3 of those kits are Christmas kits, I got to get on with the Christmas kits first. Okay, speaking of kits that make quilts and quilts that are made by subscribers, lovely segue, right? Not. Here's the subscribers quilt of the week, and this comes from someone who's a regular subscriber to all of my YouTube episodes, I guess. Words are failing me at the moment. Anyways, it's Colleen Pigeon. You probably know who I'm talking about. She does beautiful, beautiful work, and she sent me this beautiful creation. This week's subscriber's quilt comes from Colleen Pigeon, and Colleen is not a stranger to this channel, and we've seen some of her lovely creations before. And this one she sends to me and says, attached is a quilt I call Kindred Spirits. The fabrics came from things I bought and things I was given. Most are green, but there are some pops of contrasting colors, including some from one of the original Anne of Green Gables collections. The pattern from 100 Blocks in 100 Days Kinship is by Ange Wilson, aka Gnome Angel of Australia. This is a beautiful, beautiful quilt. And yes, the picture is sideways, and that's the way Colleen sent it to me. And I have a feeling that the reason she did is because this quilt looks like it's rectangular. She has it hanging on a clothesline for picture taking purposes, and I would think that this is probably the correct orientation for the quilt. And if I'm wrong, I'm sure Colleen will let me know. But whether you put it this way or the other way, it is a beautiful quilt. And the quilting in it is stunning as well. And I think it's really neat that she has some Anne of Green Gables collection fabrics in it, because Colleen comes from Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. And of course, Prince Edward Island is the home of Anne of Green Gables. And I'm sure everybody is familiar with Lucy Maud Montgomery's books about Anne. So this is a beautiful quilt. I love the colors, and I'm not usually attracted to greens, but I love the greens in this quilt. So thank you, Colleen, for sharing this with us. Now, if I take a minute and I go back to, you know, finding fabric for a quilt, you find a pattern you really like, and, we usually go by the rule of, we have lights, mediums, and darks, and all that kind of stuff. But then another factor that comes into play too is grayscale. Especially if you're doing a very complex quilt that might be a portrait quilt, for example, or landscape, you want, even though you have light, medium, and dark colors, within each of those categories, there are shades. And, 50 shades of gray kind of a thing. So I found this individual on YouTube. In fact, he was recommended to me for an interview by one of my subscribers. And I'll let you in on a little secret. I will be interviewing this individual in another couple of weeks. We've got it all set up for that. So yes. And he is a fabulous quilter. He does a lot of foundation paper piecing, his own designs, and he has a video called Understanding How to Use Grayscale. And I thought this was a very interesting YouTube video. But anyways, here, I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. This week's YouTube video comes from someone I just very recently discovered and was recommended to me by one of my subscribers. And it comes from a gentleman's called Cole Whitaker. Yes, I got his name right. And this one is interesting. He does a lot of art quilts, and he explains understanding how to use grayscale in his quilts. But I think what he talks about here would apply to a lot of different quilt patterns and designs that we might be working with. This is very, it is detailed, yet you can watch it in 5 minutes. And it really does shed some insight on, the colors that we use, their, lights, mediums, darks, and all that kind of thing. Now, of course, he does it looking at a portrait quilt, but I think, as I said earlier, the technique, I think, is applicable to anything you might be going to do. And just as a little teaser, I have arranged to do an interview with Cole Whitaker in a couple of weeks' time, so stay tuned for that. So in the meantime, you might want to check out his channel because he's got a lot of very interesting things there. And if you're into paper piecing, he's got a lot of really great ideas for doing it effectively. So it's worth the watch. It's only 5 minutes long, and I think it's very, very helpful. Okay, so future projects. Well, I've already talked to you about my priority list, but there's still more than that. And there's one that I picked this up. Again, it's Christmas based. I think I can do this one pretty fast, and it might be a nice little palette cleanser when I'm working on more major Christmas projects. And it's called Timber Pines, and it's by Creekside Stitches. This week's future project is one I picked up on a whim when I was at the Plaid Sheep Company quilt shop in Berlin, Ohio on my recent trip there. And this one's called Timber Pines. It is a Christmas sort of winter-like table runner. It looks fairly simple to do. So I thought this might be a nice little quickie project when I need palette cleaner from making other Christmas projects as well. It looks pretty basic, and I am sure I have fabrics in my stash, my Christmas fabrics, that I can definitely use for this. You can pick it up at Creekside Stitches. I've put the link in the show notes below, and it's not expensive. It's $6.50, and I bought it in a hardcover pattern. And it actually cost me $6.99 there, but this is on their direct website. And I'm not sure if this is a digital pattern or not. Doesn't really say. But anyways, I think it's a cute little pattern. And I'm looking forward to making it one day soon. Okay, so this takes me to the part of my episode where I usually review a Canadian quilt store online. I'm breaking away from that. I'm going to talk today a little bit about Miller's Dry Goods, which was one of the 5 quilt stores that I went to when I was in Berlin, Ohio. Um, I love this store, so I wanted to kind of compare the in-store experience with the online experience. So here's my review of Miller's Dry Goods. This week's quilt store online is actually one that I went to when I was in Berlin, Ohio, called Miller's Dry Goods. And I don't usually review American quilt stores. I try to keep to Canadian, but I thought since I was talking a lot about the different quilt stores that I went to while I was in Berlin, Ohio, and not everybody can get down there to these stores, I thought if they have an online presence, I should talk about it. So this is Miller's Dry Goods, as I said, in Berlin, Ohio. And if you take a look here, here's what it looks like. It does look like a barn, and actually there are 2 stores. Here are some pictures of the inside. One store, the one that's shown right now, has flannel in it, and the other one has quilting cotton. And there is a vast array of product to choose from. So let's just take a little further down, look at their front page. There is a 2024 Ohio Shop Hop. I think it's got like 84 participating shops. Like, if you want to make a nice week's vacation or so traveling all around Ohio, that might be something to do. That would be kind of neat. Then they show some of the things that they have. They have new panels, new kits, new patterns, new books, new fabric collections, etc. So let's pop up to the top and take a look at what they're offering here. And this is going to be interesting to see what they're charging online for their fabrics, because I know what they were charging when I went into the store. So let's see. They have it organized by brands, by color, by wide backing, panels, solids, metallics, 1930s reproduction, 1800 reproduction, border strips, etc. So let's go shop by brands to start with. And let's check out Andover Fabrics. Okay, so here we go. They have it all nicely laid out. Now it says from 625. I think that's probably half a yard. Interesting. It says from, but it says it's 1249. So that is a yard. So I don't know why they say from 625 and then it's 1249. Okay. I don't understand. Oh, wait, size. Okay. No. Okay, if you get half a yard, it's 625. If you get 1.5 yards, 1874. Okay, so that's why that's half a yard at 625. Okay, that's fine. So let's go back. Now, let's see if all their fabrics, it looks like all their fabrics, at least in the Andover line, are that price, and they have a fair amount to choose from. 6 pages of Andover. 259 results. Is it all Andover? Yep, it is. Okay, let's go back up to fabric again, go into this category, shop by brand, and let's just pick another brand. Let's pick Maywood Studios because they tend to be a little bit more expensive in most places. Nope, 625. Okay, so it looks like all of their fabrics are $12.50 a yard, and I think that's what I was paying there. So while I was in the store, so that is pretty good. Now they do have flat rate shipping in the US only, and it's free shipping over $80, $5 flat rate if it's under that. So that's not bad. That's pretty good. I did like this store when I was in it. Okay, let's take a look at pre-cuts. I don't remember. I think they had not a bad selection of pre-cuts. Let's look at fat quarter bundles. And their prices are okay, pretty standard. I mean, for us as Canadians, when I do the conversion on this, some of these are kind of pricey. But, you know, not a huge collection. Some of these are kind of on the old side in terms of they've been around for a while. But they have that. Anything else we want to look at in pre-cuts? charm packs. Let's see, in charm packs, yeah, they have a few. Again, some of these are a little dated. Um, yeah, I did buy these. I bought 2 of these ones, and that's the price in the store as well. So their price online, the price in the store is the same. Few more in charm packs to choose from. But again, you'll notice that their style tends to be more traditional, a little bit more of that, how do we put it, vintage style, a little bit of modern mixed in, but mostly more like, like this kind of thing, the 1930-ish sort of style. But nevertheless, if that's what you're into, you're going to find lots here to pick from. Okay, they had toweling, they have kitchen towels, books, gifts, handmade gifts and items. So they did have other things too. Scrubbies, things that were made probably by the local Amish community. Dish rags, aprons, little boxes, things like that. Key fobs, ironing board covers. So a lot of nice little handmade items that may be appealing to some. Yeah, and they did have more than just quilting cotton. As you can see, flannel, homespuns, cuddle, toweling, canvas and ticking, laminated cotton, t-shirt knits, mesh fabrics. Notions, let's look at their thread line. I never took a close look when I was in the store at what they sold for thread, but they do have Aurifil. That, okay, in American prices, $14.50. That's works out to probably about what we pay, might be a little bit more than we pay in Canada for Aurifil when you do the exchange. But I think for Americans, that's a good price because I was seeing Aurifil in the States going for $18 to $22 American, which is expensive. And then they have pearl cotton as well. So yeah. Anything else in notions we show? Let's take a look at batting. Prepackaged batting. Yeah, it's just prepackaged batting. They don't sell batting by the yard, by the looks of things. Anything else in notions? Thimbles, pins, and needles, the usual things. Quilt display. Interesting. What's that all about? Oh, okay. These kind of racks. Yeah, nothing special there. Mode of toweling. I am assuming this is if you want to make your own dish towels. From $3.80. I imagine that's a half yard. Oh, no, 1 yard, $7.59. Yeah, 1 yard is $7.59. Oh, not out of the way. I have bought toweling before and made my own tea towels, dish towels. So they had quite a bit there. Because this stuff isn't all that easy up in my area to find, actually. I didn't think of picking any up when I was down there. Maybe next time when I go down, I might. They have kits. They seem to have quite a few kits. Cats in Pajamas. That's Elizabeth Hartman. They have a nice variety. Actually, a lot on the panel kits. But yeah, okay. So there's some selection there as well. And anything else? Cuddle flannel kits, pre-cut, fused, applique, miscellaneous kits, and of course quilt books there as well. Take a quickie look and see what they have for selection. They have quite a few books. Yeah, 2 pages of them, 88 different books, so that's pretty good. I didn't look at patterns. Quilt patterns. Yeah, again, fair number. Let's see how many they have in total. Oh yeah, 4 pages, 162 different patterns. So they're really got a good selection there as well. So what more can I say? Miller's Dry Goods, I think, if you're actually in Berlin, Ohio area, is a good place to visit. I highly recommend it. Um, they had a bargain basement in there as well, which was great. There was a lot of stuff that for like about $8 a yard, which was really good. And you can see here from pictures of the store, they have a pretty good collection of fabrics. Definitely a must go to if you're in the Berlin, Ohio area. But if you can't get there, this is the second best thing, their website. So that brings me to the end of this episode of the Idiot Quilter. And just a reminder, Pop-Up Sew Day this coming Saturday, August the 3rd, 2024, starting at 8 a.m. Come whenever you like, however, and come and go as you please. And I hope to see many of you there. So stay tuned for So Chatty this week. We're going to pick up where we left off the last episode. We missed a week, of course, because we were away. And we're talking about sergers and cover stitch machines. And so this week we're going to tackle the one thing that gives everybody the biggest headache, and that's threading your serger. So we'll be looking at that, plus a few other little tidbits and tips and tricks all about using a serger. So that's this coming Friday. And then, of course, Stephen and Walter Live this coming Sunday at 4 p.m. So lots coming up. Hope to see you later on in the week, and have a good one. Bye for now.